Welcome back to WION World is One. You're watching Speed News with me, Vidur Kathuria. Let's get started. Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, insists that no foreign power was governing her country. This even as US President Donald Trump announced Caracas will be swiftly turning over millions of barrels of oil to the United States. Speaking 3 days after US Special Forces snatched Maduro and his wife in a stunning raid in Caracas, Rodriguez said, "The government of Venezuela is in charge in our country and no one else." Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, declared 7 days of mourning for members of the military killed in the US raid. The raid took over the weekend to capture leader Nicolas Maduro. According to the South American government, around 24 Venezuelan officers were killed in the attack. Cuba's government said that 32 of its military and police officers working in Venezuela were also killed. Cuba declared 2 days of mourning to honor the deceased. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said that Canadian oil will remain competitive even if Venezuela boosts output following US efforts to remove President Nicolas Maduro. Carney added that a proposed carbon capture project in Alberta would make Canadian crude more appealing to environmentally conscious buyers. This after US President Donald Trump recently suggested that American companies are ready to invest billions in Venezuela's oil sector. Leaders of 7 European countries reaffirmed that Greenland belongs to its people. The leaders stressed that issues concerning Denmark and Greenland must be decided solely by Denmark and Greenland. A joint statement released by Denmark's Prime Minister's office was signed by Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, and Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, as well as British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Venezuela's La Carlota airbase was among the targets of US strikes. Missile fragments were seen scattered across the ground located in the eastern outskirts of the capital. The airbase is home to Venezuela's National Space Agency and other key military assets, including air defense missile systems and helicopters. Buses in the base were completely burned out and smoke still lingers in the air. Several injured people, including children, were hospitalized at Aleppo as Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces and Syrian government forces exchanged fire. According to Syrian state media, fighting in the northern city left at least 9 dead and several wounded. The government and the SDF traded blame for the escalation of violence and heavy shelling in residential areas. An 18-year-old boy was crushed and killed after a man driving the bus hit the crowd in a mass ultra-Orthodox Jewish rally. The rally was held against military conscription in Jerusalem. Video of the scene shows a bus driving straight into a crowd of ultra-Orthodox men at the demonstration attended by thousands. The Israeli police said the driver has been detained and a probe into the incident is underway. Supporters of US President Donald Trump, including members of the far-right Proud Boys, marched towards the Capitol on the 5th anniversary of the January 6th attack. The march was organized by former Proud Boys leader, recently pardoned by Trump after serving time for planning the 2021 attack. It drew approximately 50 participants who were heard chanting USA and waving American flags. The capital march sparked counter-protests even amid heavy police presence. Spain is all set to propose that its military would help consolidate peace in Ukraine once a ceasefire has been negotiated. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez announced this in a news conference after a summit of allies of Ukraine in Paris. Sanchez added that he would also discuss military involvement with the main political parties at home. During leaders of Ukraine's allies meeting, according to a draft statement, it was agreed upon that security guarantees must include binding commitments to support Kyiv in the case of a future armed attack by Russia. Orthodox Christians in Serbia and Montenegro gathered to celebrate their version of Christmas Eve with the burning of oak branches. A crowd of Serbians assembled outside St. Sava Church in the capital to mark the start of Christmas celebrations with the traditional bonfire and a prayer. In Montenegro's historic capital too, residents gathered around bonfires to burn oak branches in the centuries-old tradition. Freezing weather gripped swathes of Europe with snow and icy conditions, forcing the cancellation of hundreds of flights in the Netherlands. Over 400 flights were cancelled at Amsterdam's airport due to heavy snowfall. This as the winter weather crippled traffic at one of Europe's main transit hubs for a sixth day. All domestic rail services in the Netherlands were also suspended after an IT outage compounded disruption. Lake Chilika, Asia's largest water lagoon in India's eastern state of Odisha, played host to thousands of migratory birds. Every winter, the lake acts as a major pit stop for birds who travel long distances in search for warmer climate, to search for food and nesting sites. It offers stunning visual imagery for bird watchers and tourists alike. Asian defense stocks gave back recent gains amid mixed regional market trading as investors weighed lingering geopolitical uncertainty following the US attack on Venezuela and renewed aggressive rhetoric over Greenland from the White House. Major defense-related names in Japan and South Korea saw share prices fall, reflecting profit-taking after recent rallies. Meanwhile, broader Asian delivered a mixed performance, with Japan's Nikkei and Hong Kong's Hang Seng sliding, South Korea's Kospi climbing and Australia's ASX rising on softer domestic inflation data. The retreat in defense stocks highlights caution among investors over geopolitical catalysts and broader market direction. Oil prices fell after President Donald Trump said Venezuela would hand over 30 to 50 million barrels of sanctioned oil to the United States, raising fresh concerns about global oversupply. US crude dropped more than 1%, while Brent also slipped. Markets are already under pressure from weak demand growth and rising supply. Analysts say Trump's comments signal a preference to boost supply rather than curb it. Venezuelan oil shipments, largely handled by Chevron under US authorization, could be redirected from other buyers, including China. Meanwhile, US crude inventories fell last week, though fuel stocks rose, adding to mixed market signals. The The US dollar traded in a narrow range as currency markets awaited a key batch of US economic data that could shape the Federal Reserve's interest rate outlook. Traders have largely shrugged off recent geopolitical tensions, including developments in Venezuela and China's export controls on Japan, focusing instead on upcoming labor market figures for clues on future rate cuts. Major currencies were mostly subdued in early Asia trade, with the Aussie dollar dipping then recovering, while the euro, sterling and yen saw little change. The dollar index remained around 98.6 amid expectations of at least 2 Fed rate cuts this year, though uncertainty about economic strength persists following data disruptions from last year's government shutdown. India's fuel demand surged to a record high in December, with consumption rising to 21.75 million metric tons, up more than 5% from a year earlier. That is the highest level since records began in 1998. The increase was driven by strong use of petrol, diesel and cooking gas, signaling resilient economic activity. Petrol demand jumped over 7% year-on-year, diesel use rose 5% and LPG consumption climbed more than 11%. India remains the world's third largest oil consumer. Meta has paused international expansion of its Ray-Ban display smart glasses due to short supply and strong demand in the US. The company had planned to launch the augmented reality glasses in the UK, France, Italy and Canada after seeing strong sales of earlier versions. Meta said it would prioritize fulfilling US orders while re-evaluating international availability, citing extremely limited inventory for what it called a first-of-its-kind product. Germany's media minister Wolfram Weimer has called on the EU Commission to take legal action against Elon Musk's social media platform X over the spread of sexually explicit AI-generated content. Weimer said the platform is witnessing what he described as the industrialization of sexual harassment. European leaders and the EU Commission have raised concerns about content created using X's inbuilt AI chatbot Grok. The minister referred to images of women and children in skimpy clothing generated using a Grok feature known as Spicy Mode. Amazon's cloud unit, AWS, has partnered with German automotive hardware supplier Aumovio to support the commercial rollout of self-driving vehicles. The partnership will begin with Aurora's autonomous trucks as part of the expanded collaboration. Amazon Web Services will become Aumovio's preferred cloud provider for AI-powered autonomous driving development. The technology will be used for Aurora's planned large-scale deployment of driverless freight trucks from 2027. Defending champions Ivory Coast cruised past Burkina Faso 3-0 to reach the quarterfinals of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. Winger Amad Diallo scored 1 goal and created another to help the holders seal the victory. Ivory Coast will now face record 7-time champions Egypt in the quarterfinals. The heavyweight quarterfinal clash will take place on January 10th. It will be a repeat of the 2006 final where Egypt triumphed on penalties following a goalless draw. in regular time.